Hey, this is Nick the Mining Book Guy. Today is Wednesday, March 14th, right in the middle of the day, 2018, exactly a week after I came back from PDAC in Toronto, the biggest mining conference in the world. Yeah, you can see it right up here. Go to PDAC.ca and you'll learn about it if you have no idea what it is. But I just wanted to make a relatively quick video about a lot of the interesting things I did, and at the very least provide you some links to some neat stuff that you should check out online. Great for people who couldn't attend, and even some people who attended and maybe still want this information. Here's a good interview that I was honored to be involved with. You can see featuring Mining Book Guy, but it's really an interview with David Erfley, and I have to give a shout out to my friend Bill Powers, who runs Mining Stock Education, not just this YouTube channel, full podcast and everything. He helped me get a media pass. This was the first time I met him in person. Great guy. Was also happy to meet his friend Andre, and give a shout out to Andre because Andre sat in with us when we did this podcast, and Andre is a great example of the type of person I like making this content for, who's relatively new to the mining junior scene. And while this content's great for people who've been involved with juniors for the last few years or longer, it's especially good for newer people. I think David, with his Junior Miner Junkie newsletter, is a great person to look to if you're new to the mining scene. You can follow all of David's stuff for free on YouTube, or you could consider signing up for his newsletter. But this video or podcast from PDAC was one of the highlights for me, and definitely check out the link. By the way, all the links are below this YouTube video for everything that I'm presenting here. And as a second podcast, this was a lot of fun too. My friend Trevor Hall, I mentioned before, yeah, this is a great title, The Millennial Brain Trust of the Junior Resource Market, which is really being too kind. At least I thought it was too kind for me. But my friends Sean Kingsley, who's at Kingsley at CEO.CA, and Fabi, who's at The Next Big Rush at CEO.CA, we all contributed. Unfortunately, Peter Bell wasn't here, who I think also could have added a lot. But both Sean and Fabi, great content. I mean, I tried my best as well, but I really liked the stuff they had to say. And Trevor did a great job organizing this, asking questions. Make sure to check this link out. This was a really good podcast talking about what the sector needs to really encourage young people. Lots of interesting things surrounding that. So those were two media portions that I was directly involved with. Again, very happy to be involved, even though I was just a contributor. But in terms of stuff that I did that would be a real highlight to PDAC that I planned on were two sessions. The first one, the Western Tethyan Belt. This was really cool. This was great because it was a mix of companies, government representatives, geologists. You had the technical side, you had the business side, and you had the government side. I believe this is the second year they've done it, and they're already planning to do a third year. I have to give a special shout out to both Euromax Resources and Mondoro Capital, but for me it's specifically Mondoro because I didn't know this was going to happen until Teo Dechev, who runs Mondoro, told me about it. I think this actually says a lot about Mondoro's standing in Eastern Europe, that they organized this, and I think they were easily the smallest junior of the companies involved here. I live blogged this. Actually, I'll get into that in a second, but I'll just add a note. I've actually been buying a lot of Mondoro shares lately, so I think the combination of what I learned about Mondoro from talking to Teo, from what I saw at this session, and the fact that the share price is moving down. A lot of other juniors are too, but yeah, Mondoro is one I've been buying a lot of, and I will have more to say on that in a future video. But the other session I really enjoyed, gold and base metals in the Arabian-Nubian Shield. So again, I really thank Bill Powers for the media pass because I couldn't get into this technical session without it. And while this was a great overview of the Arabian, actually more the Nubian Shield side, because this includes, Saudi Arabia. There was one company that was a little bit Saudi Arabia, Red Sea, but most of them were the Nubian Shield side. So Eritrea, Sudan, Ethiopia, Egypt. For me, the main highlights were Sudan. There's actually this really interesting presentation from the Sudan government-owned company. But the best presentation, honestly, of all the sessions I attended was Hugh Stewart from Orca Gold. It was fantastic. And as a really funny side note, when I was live blogging this, I believe 80% of Orca's geologists, they're from Africa, from Europe, or North America, they were all sitting behind me. It's like this, global mix of people all involved with Orca. And I think they were following everything I was doing, which after the fact, I thought was pretty amusing. But Orca had a really great presence, not just at this session, but they were right in the middle of Korshak. I actually didn't have that much time to go to the exhibit halls, but I talked to Hugh afterwards. I'm really excited about what Orca is doing, not just in Sudan, also Ivory Coast, but most of this focus was Sudan. So of course, I want to highlight that as well. Even though I'm not buying Orca shares right now, I really like the position that they're in, and it was a really big highlight to watch them and see this whole presentation. But if you missed this, you can at least get an idea of what happened from the live blogging that I did. And again, links below. But the Tethian room, I tagged Tethian to every single post I did on the Western Tethian session. And on the Arabian Nubian Shield, I tagged AN Shield for every post I did there. Lots of photos. They're not, great, but it gives you an idea of the slides. I tried my best to have some notes. So there's a possibility that there'll be more details on these sessions online and other places, and I will post them to CEO.CA. But really, if you have any interest in this at all, my notes on this might be the only way that you get these details online, at least at the moment. So take advantage if you have any interest in these regions. Huge highlight for PDAC, again, because government officials don't show up at a lot of other conferences. I mean, PDAC's the biggest, it's super global, and these types of sessions are very special to this conference. I'm going to stay on this PDAC page for a second because one of the other highlights was not planned at all, and I have a little bit of a story. I basically was lucky to run into Dave Lotan, whom I know from previous conferences that I've been to, and it was very serendipitous that just by running into him, he invited me to a nice dinner that I think was already planned, and I felt a little bit like the oddball there, but it was really fantastic meeting a lot of people for the first time. But I wanted to tie this into another serendipitous thing that happened a week earlier. So this is the part of the conferences where I think if you're new to mining, it's where I didn't realize how much value I could get out of this. A week earlier, SME, and you can see here it says Denver for 2019. Well, SME, which is a big mining conference in the US, was in Minneapolis, my hometown, and I wasn't even planning to attend. I attended related to the Move Mining competition and one of my previous videos, Mineral Maniacs. You can see all of that. But when I attended, Benjamin Cox, who works for Autotech and who's a big contributor at CEO.CA, told me to show up to his after party there. And at that party, I met Mati. And this is actually the Orion page. So the funny thing is, Mati is a director at Orion, but he's also works at Autotech. And so I randomly met him in Minneapolis at SME, and then a week later, he happens to be at this dinner that Dave did. So it's just amazing. And Mati is an awesome person to talk to. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me mentioning this a little bit. I'm not going to go into any further details, except to say that he's a brilliant mind, and I got so much valuable information. We're just back and forth discussing interesting exploration projects around the world. And it was amazing that I saw him twice in a week without even knowing who he was prior to this, and it had to do with the serendipity of showing up to these conferences. I want to mention one other person. I don't I know that, some people want to be private about information stuff. I didn't actually ask Adrian Day if he minded me mentioning in this video. I'm pretty sure he won't mind, and I'll send him an email afterwards. But it was really cool that I was seated next to Adrian Day at this dinner. We coincidentally have a lot of similar interests, both in Serbia. He actually has a stake in Mondoro and Medgold, both in Serbia, and he has similar interests to me in Africa. And I knew a lot about Adrian Day from the YouTube videos, but it was really a pleasure to have dinner and have discussion with him as well. I met a bunch of other people too, but I just wanted to highlight Adrian and Madi as just two great examples. And I met other people, in these serendipitous ways. And that's some of the best reasons to go to these conferences, besides something that was planned, like the technical sessions that I just mentioned. So I will definitely be staying in touch with Adrian over time. And want to give a quick another shout out to Peter Bell, because I mentioned, oh yeah, I'm friends with Peter, and Adrian immediately was like, oh yeah, we've had some great chats at previous conferences, and I remember Peter sending me a really cool video. So I just wanted to do that shout out for Peter. I'll mention this to him as well. But here's a great example of something where you can get online and it ties in with Dave's dinner. So Dave is kind of elusive online. I saw this a while ago, and I've never posted this video. There's a lot of tie-in here. So these at the bar sessions are really cool. I've never attended one at a conference, but they happen at all the Metals Investors Forum conferences. And this one, I think, was the best. This one is 45 minutes long, back from 2016. This was 18 minutes in, and this is probably the best link I'm providing you from this video. So for the people who are still listening to me, make sure you pay attention to this. About 18 minutes in, Brent all of a sudden goes over to Dave Lotan. So this is Dave. And this guy here, oh shoot, I forgot his name. But you know what? I haven't met him before, but make sure you listen to both Dave. I think it's Rob. Well, Dave and Rob for 5 minutes. This is super valuable information. And it's just gives you an idea of the types of things that I talk about with people at conferences, and other people do too. But it's free for you online. And I bet even though there's a lot of people who view this, they didn't hone in on this part. Interesting discussion about share structure, warrants, and all that. It's kind of similar to the discussions I had with David Earthley. So I really wanted to point that out in general. I also wanted to mention I missed the Metals Investors Forum this year. Unfortunately, had some issues at the airport. But again, you can go to these conferences and see this stuff, or you can get all of it online. For me, one of the main priorities of the conference is to meet other people, like other CEO.CAers, people that I know online. But I personally don't think you need to go to the conference to sit through these presentations, because you can watch them online. So I just want to make the point that there's a lot of valuable stuff online. There's actually another link I was going to post up here, and I didn't. But if you just type in at the bar, actually maybe it's over here. Well, if you type in a search engine, at the bar mining, you'll find all these other at the bar type sessions, and there's just lots of good information. I think Brent is the one carryover to all of these. But point being, lots of stuff that happens at these conferences does get posted online. And I guess as a final point, with all the neat links I just shared with you, I only started going to these conferences starting with Beaver Creek late last year. Oh, by the way, I did a lot of good one-on-one sessions at PDAC, similar to Beaver Creek, and those were valuable. But the types of information I get at those on companies, I can get it from calling these people up, or I can just go on to CEO.CA and start searching, having private conversations, looking at companies, all that. I kid you not, it's still more important to me to call people up, do the research online, than to go to these conferences. That's not true for everyone. I just really want to emphasize that no matter how exciting it seems to go to PDAC or VRIC or Beaver Creek, if you're someone like me and you like doing your own research and you're really open to using the web and phone and all of that, make sure you take as much advantage as you can, because you can get a real edge that way. And I know a lot of people that show up to PDAC or these other conferences, they don't know how to use the online resources as well. as I do, or as well as many of you guys do. So just want to not make you feel like you missed out on too much. But again, check all the links below. There's a lot of cool content I'm trying to share with you. And I had a great time at PDAC, and I hope that I'll see some of you at future conferences. But at the very least, I can see all of you at CEO.CA. And last note, I'm really happy that Tommy has cleaned up the index a little bit. This site has so much more potential, and I'm hoping it will be even more newbie friendly. People who are new to searching for stuff online or new to mining, and I'm trying to work with the site on that. So stay tuned. If you haven't contributed at CEO.CA before, you're more than welcome to come, but I'm really hoping to make it better for newbies, and I want to be at least indirectly involved with that. This is Nick, the Mining Book Guy. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.